Check that out. That's pretty cool. It's huge. It's like a generator or a mobile home or something. Awesome. That certainly wasn't a house when I drove by it. It was a big generator or something. Pretty cool. Those guys make a lot of money, but it's dangerous stuff, man. Pretty cool. Welcome, everybody. My name is Michael. Today, we are discussing about SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, and his ex-girlfriend, ex-partner, ex-CEO of Alameda Research, Caroline. Right now, they've been going to court. Remember, October was the big month when suddenly all of this is going to court. And they have been at court. And one's blaming the other. So let's get into the news. Let's go deep. I mean, where do we start? Chinese bribes, Thai entertainers, the polite way of saying that were hired, bribes, political bribes, SBF telling Caroline Ellison he'd be president of, America, SBF taking around $2 billion of funds from Alameda to start his own really venture. Caroline Ellison has pleaded guilty to multiple charges. She is the government's star witness here against Sam Bankman-Fried. There is a very real possibility that SBF is facing a long time, not only, but he might actually serve a very long time, decades behind bars. We'll see. And it's all tumbling down. Caroline Ellison said some really, really incriminating evidence against SBF. And there's just a whole lot of stuff coming out there right now. So SBF is facing multiple charges. So there was a point in time where Alameda's balance sheet was $15 billion, and SBF directed Ellison to make the balance sheets look a little bit better, to come up with an alternative balance sheet that didn't look as bad. And the group, Ellison and a couple of the top execs, essentially brainstormed ideas to, cook the books, There was a number of different balance sheet variations that were presented to SBF, and SBF essentially chose the one that was titled FTX Borrows, and then he hid $10 billion in borrowed customer money and used customer money to pay back some of the other loans. It made it seem like there was plenty of assets to cover all of the open-term loans, when really they were already in the negatives. By October of 2022, the internal balance sheet for liabilities said there was $15.6 billion, while the real numbers actually showed they were just under $8 billion. Now, there was a whole document where SBF would have, line by line, all of his worries, and one of those worries was Mohammed bin Salman, there we go, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. And with that, he was trying to raise from MBS billions of dollars to plug in that hole for customers to pay back the customer. SBF is currently facing charges for wire fraud, securities fraud, money laundering, and 7 of these charges are all related to the collapse of FTX and Alameda Research. He had full control over everything. He currently has pleaded not guilty, but if he does actually face the gavel, he could spend the rest of his life in prison, which is actually pretty scary. I mean, that's crazy for non-violent offenses. But that's the American prison system right there. He probably should have moved with his billions of dollars to Russia or China or anywhere really that he wouldn't be able to get tracked down. But he fled to the Bahamas, and yeah, that didn't end too well. So Ellison testified that SBF was freaking out about MBS, about some pretty interesting things, the small minor things that don't really matter a whole lot, such as his hair, his signature, Afro style, crazy hair. He was worried about that. He was worried about bad PR the next 6 months after the whole collapse. Well, obviously, he was worrying about how to take down the rival exchange Binance. He believed in a very proactive approach where he, not bribed, but he wanted to get out before the bad news. He wanted to talk with journalists. That's why he had a bunch of interviews. He was talking with journalists and trying to get in front of everything, which ultimately backfired on him. Also, the bribes, the political bribes, where he tried sending tens of millions of dollars, that really messed everything up, because later on that made him look entirely terrible in that light. After everything was said and done, when the dust settled, for $12 billion in customer funds, FTX only had $4 billion to cover everything. They were -8 in the hole, and there was no way for them to make it up. SBF at one point in time was trying absolutely everything to raise money, to try and hide everything. One of those, obviously didn't work, was with the Chinese bribes. He spent anywhere from $100 to $150 million transferring money to various accounts, including Thai entertainers, very fancy dancy girls, who had accounts that were frozen by the Chinese government, and he wanted to unfreeze these funds to hopefully get millions of dollars back. That didn't really work. Another plan was, hey, if we could rat out Binance's bad practices to the U.S. government, if they could take down at least the U.S. portion of Binance, we'll be able to take up their market share, meaning our company's going to grow in value, meaning, hey, we'll make up a couple $1 billion here. No problem. Ellison made a $200,000 salary with a sweet $20 million bonus in 21. Now, on top of that, after the plea deal, she's supposedly facing a maximum of 110 years in prison, so essentially a life sentence. Now, a lot of people outside of America will ask, well, why is it so crazy? Why in America do you have 200, 300 years? It's because it's multiple charges stacked with maximums 20, 20, 20, boom, 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 boom. And eventually, if she does go to prison, and if her lawyers argue that, hey, this charge has to be thrown out, maybe instead of 110, it goes down to 80. Still essentially life in prison at that point, almost guaranteed, but that's why it's there. It's sometimes you see crazy like 300 years in prison. It's because what if one of those charges later, goes through appeals court and gets reversed. So in total, over $10 billion were borrowed from outstanding third-party loans by mid-2022 that were still left unpaid, and that's just one of the troubles. The political donations, including $10 billion, $10 billion, not $10 billion, $10 billion was sent to now President Joe Biden. He was sending everywhere, left and right, wanted to get some political goodwill to hopefully, with relatively small amounts of money, buy him some time, which didn't work, or maybe, just maybe, he'd be able to use some of these politicians to change a couple laws, and you never know, maybe market share grows somehow. These are interesting ideas, but again, I think it would have been better just to take $1 billion, flee to Russia. You never know. Now, what's even crazier is that Alameda has minted over 39 billion USDT. Of that, 47% of the entire USDT circulating supply. It's there, it's out there, it's being traded. Alameda had a lot of shady deals alongside FTX. They used customer deposits to cover the losses from the loans that they were supposed to pay off. Alameda and Tether are pretty much intertwined at that point. I mean, this is just crazy, the amount of stuff that's happening. There's so many memes. So upon losing $20 billion in FTX, you had one of the top execs write, oops, sorry, I'm sorry, oops. Hey, we just lost $20 billion. So you have Gary Wang, who is one of the co-founders, was testifying against SBF, also took a plea deal. You had SBF blaming Caroline Ellison for the whole collapse of FTX, that she was unfit, that she also bragged that, she just needs elementary math to be able to run everything. He said she's not a natural leader and probably never will be. I mean, this just goes crazy. Sam Bankman-Fried thought stealing billions of dollars from customers would be okay if it led to a positive outcome for the world. Sam Bankman-Fried's brother tried to buy the Pacific island of Nauru. I've never even heard of this. But in the event of an apocalypse where he wanted to construct a bunker and develop a lab for human genetic enhancement with funds from FTX. So there we go. More customer funds being splurged. You had another executive that was arrested, and he is facing charges because he was the one who actually made these bribes to Republican Party. So you had the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, you had all sides, really. Whoever could get us out of trouble. And now, in a matter of a day, a couple days or a couple of weeks, this is probably going to be a couple of weeks at least because it's going to be dragging out. There's a lot of evidence. These people are probably facing decades in prison. I don't know about Caroline Ellison. Maybe she goes to prison for a little bit, 5-10 years. But SBF is looking 50 plus. There's probably a good chance. Mr. Wade is also probably looking at a couple of years. We'll see. I mean, we could be surprised. So that's pretty much the story so far. I mean, it's getting juicier as we get closer to the end of this all. And I just wanted to leave off with a note where a lot of people are depressed because, hey, a couple of years ago, it seems like crypto was in a better state. You had more excitement. And then you had a bunch of this stuff happen. You had a huge collapse of a couple altcoins, a couple scams. You had FTX. You had all this stuff happen where people are wondering, well, is this the end of crypto? It's not. Don't worry. Everything's going to be fine. Is this the end of some altcoins and scam coins? Could be. Definitely. Right now, the market is at a little bit of a lull, but that doesn't mean it's over. And hopefully we're able to move past FTX, just like in the past. I'm reading a crypto book right now, how we got past Mt. Gox. Not to worry. That was a pretty big incident, but we got past it. Everything's going to be all right. There are periods of massive growth followed by periods of stagnation. And that happens. People lose hope. That's okay. You've got the diehard crypto heads right now. And you also have the gambler degenerates who are just trading like there is no tomorrow. Thank you to those guys. They're always there. Not to worry. But it's just a little bit of an interesting period right now. But there are a couple projects that are easily growing and easily surpassed 100 times what they were just 2, 3, 4 years ago. So there's still huge, massive growth. It's just in a couple key areas. And yes, people's hopes over Ethereum and Bitcoin, some of them have gone down. But that's normal. It's part of the market. It's not just crypto. But the world market is a little crazy as well right now. We're in the middle of a massive inflation period where people don't know what to do with mortgages and car loans and, everything out there. What do? Do you invest in the stock market? I don't know. Because there's war going on. There's now another war. There's just crazy stuff that's going to always impact prices. Now gas is going up again. There's a lot of world events, horrible, horrible stuff happening out there that these past 2 years, plus you had COVID and all that before, these past 2 years have been, wow, there's just been a lot of stuff going on. So it's not just crypto, but we're waiting for kind of these world events to settle down as well. So we should be good. But anyways, stay tuned. We'll follow more. You have a good one. Take care.